Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. The Honorable Miss Septa Aryanika M.Pd as the lecturer of Seminar in Language Teaching subject and all my beloved friends. In this nice occasion, let me try to presenting my proposal entitled The Effectiveness of Using Storybird Application Towards Students' Ability in Writing Narrative Text. Before I start to present my proposal, I would like to introduce myself first. My name is Finda Fika Rohmah with the students number 1711040214 and I'm from the 6th F class. So here, I would like to present 3 chapters of my proposal and now we start from the chapter 1, Background of the Problem. Most people usually make a communication in oral and written form, but sometimes some of us cannot explain and deliver our ideas in oral, so he or she can use a written form to communicate and share their ideas to other people. Those two skills, also known as speaking and writing skill. Besides those two skills in communication, in English, there are 4 skills that we should learn and we used to learn. Those skills, usually called as listening, speaking, reading, and also writing skill. One of 4 skills that should be learned hardly is writing. Richard stated that writing is the most difficult skill for second language and foreign language learners. As we know that writing is one of 4 skills that we struggle to learn, we should develop our ability by practicing in our daily life. Writing needs creative ideas that come from our mind in order to make an acceptable message that we can deliver to other people by a text. And also, if we want to make a good text, we should know what we want to write and know to arrange the sequence. According to Reims, he states that writing also involves thinking. It means that there is a close relation between thinking and also writing. If the student can create a good thinking and can maintain their ideas, it can build a good writing text that's valuable for themselves. Based on the previous research, a research was also done by Lestari Setiawati, Sony Sukmawan, and also Anna Ahsana in the journal entitled Promoting Literacy Skills Through Storybird as Web-Based Technology for Language Education Lecture, and the students who joined the writing class in STKIP PGRI Pasuruan. The results show that the participants can get a higher score after using the application, and it can be seen from the result of pre-test and also post-test. There are some difficulties that faced by the students when they try to learn writing or do the writing. Most of students are confused to organize the ideas when they start to write and pour their feeling in the written form. Besides, some of the students also lack in vocabulary and also using the correct grammar when they try to write something. Not only the students, but the teacher also get the difficulties when they deliver about writing in the class. This is the reason why I do this research. According to the statement above, the researcher is interested to find out the effectiveness of using Storybird application to enhance the students' ability in writing, especially in writing narrative text. The limitation of the problem. This study focused on writing skill, especially in writing a folklore in narrative text. The researcher tries to know the effectiveness of using Storybird application to develop some ideas of the students to write a good narrative text in the classroom activity by following some important components in writing. Based on the statement mentioned above, the formulation of this research, is there any effectiveness by using Storybird application towards students' ability in writing narrative text? There are also the objective of the study. The objective of this research is to know the effectiveness of using Storybird application towards students' ability in writing narrative. The next is about scope of the research. There are four scopes of this research. The first is subjects of the research. The subject of this research is the students at 10th grade of SMKN2 Bandar Lampung. The second is objects of the research. Objects of this research are Storybird application and also students' ability in writing narrative text. The third is place of research. This research will be conducted at SMKN2 Bandar Lampung, and the last is time of research. This research will be conducted in the first semester of SMKN Bandar Lampung students. So, the next is chapter 2 about review of related literature. Actually, writing provides a means for students to process some information in their own. According to Barley Bram, he argued that writing is creative activity to make or develop a message to convey information in writing form. This activity usually done by composing our thought and finding our inscription material so that we can do by following some stages. But we should consider some important information that we want to deliver before we start the writing activity. The next about components of writing qualities. Jacobs in 1981 mentioned there are some components of qualities that should be met in order to make an effective writing text. The first is content, which refers to the substance of writing. It is included from the main idea. And then the next is about organization. It refers to the logical organizational of context. And then vocabulary, that refers to the selection of words that are suitable with the content. And then there is a language that refers to the use of correct grammatical form and synthetic patterns of separating, combining, and also grouping idea in word phrases clause and then into a sentence. And then the last is mechanic. Mechanic refers to the use of graphic conventional of the language. The next is argumentation. Argumentation, or often called as persuasive writing. It is because the aims of argumentation is persuading and convincing the readers about writer's point of view in a particular issues. And then the last is narrative. According to Anderson, narrative is text which tell a story and doing so, entertainers or inform the readers or the listener. It means that narrative text is a kind of text to retell the story the past. There are problem and also resolution. The purpose of the text is to entertain or to amuse the readers or the listeners about a story. So the next I would like to explain about Storybird application. The first is about the definition. Storybird is a new way to collaborate and creative at the same time. It offers a lot of opportunities to start a narrative writing process. According to Giacomin in 2015, he recommends the use of Storybird as one more tool for teaching creative or narrative writing. Storybird is one of the application 2.0 tools that enable students to be more creative and imaginative in their narrative writing. This media is one of free writing related to tools and also research available on the web. Storybird, which is a storytelling website, is an activity that helps students to improve writing ability and reading ability and boost creativity and imagination through a beautiful picture. So here I would like to mention some procedure of using Storybird application. There are 5 procedures in using Storybird application. The first is we can sign up for a Storybird account by entering a valid email address and also the password. Here, we should also agree to the terms of service. The next is we can click on the Create tab. And then the third, we can start browsing through artwork to locate artwork that will coordinate with your story. In here, you could also use an artwork as an inspiration of your story, so it can be relevant and related according to your content. And then the next is, once you have selected your artwork, you can click on the Start Your Storybird. The site will guide you through the rest of the process. And then the last is, after your completion, save your work until you are ready to publish your narrative writing text into the public. And then the next is about the advantages and disadvantages of using Storybird application. Here, according to Hashim, there are some advantages by using Storybird application. The first advantage is it is free. So, that gives our low-income students an opportunity to participate in this creative experience because it is free, so everyone can install this application and use this application in learning teaching process. The next is Storybird focus on the story making as a collaborative process. The website makes the process of collaborating or taking turns very easy. It is allow the teacher, students, friends, and family to edit and help the author throughout the story. And then the last advantages of this Storybird application is that Storybird gives the option of keeping a story private until the students is ready to share it. So we can save our writing text in this application, and when we ready to publish this story, we can open the private writing text. The next is about disadvantages of writing. Still according to Hasim, the disadvantages of using Storybird application is that the artwork, although it is beautiful, but sometimes it is difficult to search. Sometimes if we write or search on the artwork column, so by this limitation in artwork, the student sometimes will feeling frustrated. And then the next is hypothesis. Based on this explanation, the researcher formulated the hypothesis as follows. There is a significant effectiveness of using Storybird application towards students' ability in writing narrative text. And then the there is no significant effectiveness of using Storybird application towards students' ability in writing narrative. So the next is chapter 3 that consists of research methodology. The first is research design. According to Ari, experimental design is the general plan to carrying out a study with an active independent variable. Experimental research is any research conducted with a scientific approach where a set of variables are kept constant while the other set of variables are being measured as the subject of the experiment. This research will be used quantitative as the method and also using experimental design because the researcher wants to know the effectiveness of using Storybird application in teaching narrative text. The design of this research will include in quasi-experimental research. The next is population. In experimental research, the requirement of population must be homogeneous. The research population is generally a large collection of individuals or objects that is the main focus of a scientific query. In this research, the researcher will take the population of the first semester of 10th grade students of SMKN to Bandar Lampung. The population of this research consists of 340 students from 12 classes. So the next is sample. In this research, the researcher will choose two classes from all the population. And then the two classes is from 10 TKG1 and 10 TKG2. There are 30 students from 10 TKG1, consists of 14 females and also 16 males. And then from 10 TKG2, there is also 30 students that consists of 16 females and 14 male. So the sample on this research will be taken by using cluster random sampling. The next is data collecting technique. For collecting the data, the researcher used a test in data collecting technique. Test is used to measure individuals' competence and to reach the objective of teaching learning process. Here, the tests are divided into two. The first is pre-test and the second is post-test. The pre-test will be given to the students before they get the treatment in order to know the ability of the students in writing a narrative text by topic that determined. And then the post-test will be given after the treatment. So the researcher will give a post-test to the students. The test will be also the same with the pre-test, but in different topic. The result of post-test will be taken and compared with the previous test so that the result of score will be used as a numerical data to measure the effect of using Storybird in teaching writing skill. So the next is research procedure. The research procedure of this research, there are as follow. The first is determining the subject. The second is determining the population and the sample. The third is presenting the pretest and find out the result of the test. The fourth is analyzing the data that is got from the pretest. The fifth, giving the treatment by using Storybird application. In experimental class for 3 times of teaching and discovery learning in control class. And then the sixth is giving the post-test and scoring the result. The seventh stage, analyzing the result of the post-test. The next is testing the hypothesis and making conclusion. And then the last is reporting the result by the researcher. So the next is about validity of the data. According to Arikunto, validity is a matter of relevance. It means that the data measure what is claimed to be measured. The data can be said valid if the instrument items data measure what is purpose should be measured. To measure whether the data is good validity or not, the researcher analyzed the data from the content validity. The next is technique of data analysis. There is normality test. The normality is used to know whether the data in experimental and control class has the normal distribution or not. So here, the hypothesis for the normality test were formulated as follows. HO, the data are normally distributed. HA, the data are not normally distributed. And then the next is homogeneity test. The researcher did the homogeneity test in order to know whether the data obtained from the sample homogeneous or not. So, there is also the hypothesis from homogeneity test. HO, the variance of the data are homogeneous, and then HA, the variance of the data are not homogeneous. So, the statistical formulation that we'll use in experimental research is t-test because in this research, the variable is consists of 2 variables. Besides, the purpose of t-test itself is to compare 2 samples that having same characteristic but getting in different treatment. So the conclusion of this research is the researcher want to know the effectiveness of using Storybird application towards students' ability in writing narrative text because from the previous research, the researcher used Storybird application to teach recount and also to enhance the students using vocabulary in writing. So here, the researcher wants to know, is Storybird application is effective to use in teaching narrative or not? So that's all from me. I'm sorry if there are a lot of mistakes, and finally I say wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.